यत्रैव मनोमदीयं तत्रैव तव स्वरूपम्।
यं शैवाः समुपासते शिवैति ब्रह्मेति वेदान्तिनो बौद्धा बुद्ध इति प्रमाणपटवः कर्तेति नैयायिका अर्हन्नित्यथ जैनशासनरता कर्मेति मीमांसका सोऽयं वो विदधातु वाञ्छितफलं त्रैलोक्यनाथो हरिः सोऽयं वो विदधातु वाञ्छितफलं त्रैलोक्यनाथो हरिः मदीयहृदयाकाशे सदानन्दमयो गुरु उदेतु सततं सम्यक् अज्ञान तिमिरारुणा हरि हरि हरि. Let us have the 3 times Omkara recitation in chorus. Before doing it, as I said earlier, your mind should expand to cover the entire globe. By that process, we intend that our chorus recitation will be very extensive, permeating the whole universe, generating and releasing its benedictory vibrations for the whole beings. Interlock your fingers and put them on your lap. Sit comfortably erect, close your eyes, open the mouth and heart and join me. Harihi, Harihi, Harihi Om Tats. I am again discussing Ashtavakra Samhita. Janaka was told by Ashtavakra to understand the difference between the subject and the object. Throughout our life in the waking state, in all our interactions, the interacting oneself, he remains a subject. And all the other things, including his own body, when you look at your body, touch your body, every time you are interacting with the object body. Similarly, your house, your family members, the possessions you have, your office, furniture, the people, the bosses, the assistants, the colleagues, the vehicles, everything is coming under the object. And for all these objects, there is only one subject. And the subject is not even the body. It is not even internally the mind. The mind also is a subtle object. The intelligence also, the ego also. Transcending all these, there is a presence which you identify as the I. Whenever you are aggrieved, you say, I am aggrieved, I have grief, I have agitation. And you survive the agitation and then say, I am happy now. So the I is such that it can be present in happiness, it can also be present in unhappiness, and both conditions do not affect the I the least. So the subject is unaffected by objects, interactions with them, and whatever results or accrues from out of the interactions. In other words, in the interactions as well as in the interactional outcomes, the subject I is not affected at all. And so far as the range is concerned, the range is as much as you can make. When you look at an object through the eye, as I told you, we have got the infinite power of perception. At the farthest point in the universe, if you place a sizable object, the eye specialist told me, and you can see it with the naked eyes. So if the little organ called eye, it has got this infinite range of perception, what should be the infinitude which the eye that you have, the subject you have? Now, with this knowledge of the subject, when you deal in this world, a misunderstanding that people have which refuses to leave them is this is an additional knowledge to you. It does not question the object knowledge. The object knowledge governs your interaction. But with all the object interactions, what happens is you feel troubled, you feel tormented, you get lost, you get constricted. All these are psychological and intellectual creations. We can assimilate them, withstand them, dissolve them, and your interactions will be far more facile, easy, light, comfortable. Your performance will become better and better. Your capacity will grow. The confidence you have in the matter of performing actions in this world will be tremendously more. It is only a complement to your life. It is not an eliminational factor, an eliminating factor. You continue with your interactions, but all the troubles that you are reporting subjectively, every trouble that you report is subjective. I am not happy. I feel diffident. I am unable to withstand. All these are psycho-intellectual problems. These problems will be reducing, declining. And the zenith is when you have no problem at all. As the problem arises, so it will be dissolved in the very source. So don't ask me what is the purpose of this subject knowledge of this spiritual wisdom. The spiritual wisdom alone will give you the stability, the commitment, the dedication, the confidence, and the dexterity to perform your actions pretty well. So it is a compliment. It is a compliment. And spirituality is easy to practice also because it is a mental intellectual practice, supplementing and complementing all the physical interactions that you do. Now, we are particularly concerned with the psychological pressures created by our life. We have so many notions in us, ideas in us. These ideas are not always true. For the major part, they are untrue, unfounded. So he discusses it. Dharma dharmau sukham dukham manasani nate vibho na kartasi na bhoktasi mukta evasi sarvada. This is the shloka with which I ended the talk yesterday. Dharma adharmau, dharma dharmau. What does it mean? We have some standards and styles, some norms for our character and behavior. So there is something called propriety and impropriety, ethics and non-ethics, morality and immorality, just like truthfulness and untruthfulness. How white and black are different, so morality and immorality are different. Ethics and non-ethics are different. Now, these are ideas formed by the mind. Ideas formed by the mind. Ideas on the basis of what? On the basis of which? On the basis of multitudinous objects that the world hosts. So these ideas are formed on the basis of the objects, and the objects themselves do not have a full validity. I think you will agree with me, I have already explained it. There is no point of time when you interact with any object in this world. Every object is reflected in your mind. The mind takes an imprint of the object with the help of the senses, and every time your interaction, whether it is sight or sound or anything else, is only with the mental projection or mental imprint of the object. So all the experiences are in the mind level. The entire life is lived in the mind level, in the mind level, in the mind level. Can I continue? So in the mind level, seeing plurality of objects, plurality of things, objective things, we have developed an idea that these are good, these are bad, these are proper, and these are improper. What are they after all? They are assessments about the object. And are you the object? No, you are its witness. So of all these ramifications, all these plural ideas, in what way is the subject I affected? Is it enriched by morality? Is it enervated by immorality? Can propriety give it anything? Does it need anything? Can impropriety mean anything bad? All these are ideas and formulations in your mind. Similarly, happiness and unhappiness. Happiness and unhappiness are in the mind level. Happiness is followed by unhappiness. Unhappiness is followed by happiness. Either both of them will be there or neither will be there. So they are manasani. Sukha and dukkha are applicable only when you are wakeful and your mind is active. Nate vibho. You are a vibhu. You are present in the whole universe as the subject. As a spirit, as you are permeating in your body, you are permeating in all the objectude around you. That is a singular one. There is no second. It is always permeating, it is always permeating, it is only one, it doesn't give place to anything second. Being so, by Sukhadukhas and Dharmadharmas, are you the subject, the witness, affected the least? No. Therefore, na kartasi, na bhoktasi. My dear listeners, are you with me? This is a discussion, mind you. This is a discussion from the intelligence to the intelligence, for the intelligence to grasp. In that grasping, you should not be deterred by any kind of an inhibition. You are in the midst of objects, and your body is an object. I don't question all these things. It is the presence of the object that makes you think of the subject. So the subject becomes so only with reference to an object. So I am not questioning the presence of objects. I am only telling you that your presence is not objective. Na kartasi. All activities are taking place in the level of the senses. To some extent in the level of the mind, in the level of the intelligence. Maybe ego also is involved. But you are not any one of these. As you are different from the body, you are different from the mind, you are different from the intelligence, you are different from the ego. In that ego transcending level, no action ever takes place and no effect ever befalls. It is an action-free and result-free area, like the no man's land between two countries. Understand this. What do you require other than intelligence, simple intelligence to understand this? It is an area where no action ever takes place. To act, senses are required, mind is required, intelligence is required, ego is required. So all these actions have got their range and relevance only in your body, in your mind, in your intelligence, and in the ego. Now you are beyond these. You are that singular, that singular, that singular, that singular presence. The witness, the witness. It witnesses the ego, witnesses the intelligence, witnesses the mind, witnesses the body, witnesses the objects. So all the activities are in the witnessed level, not in the witness level. So, nakartasi, you are never a performer or a doer. Na bhoktasi. Therefore, you don't have to experience an outcome of an action that you have done. When you are free from this kartrutva and bhoktrutva, the doership, the enjoyership, and the sufferership, when the mind is able to, or intelligence is able to become free and think about that witness, mind you are the witness of the whole Panchabhutas, and your body is an insignificant factor in the Panchabhutic multitude, and actions are taking place only in your bodily level. But you are the witness of the whole universe. So you have a universal dimension, a universal dimension. Otherwise, how can you see the universe? So that universally dimensional, that subject level, in the subject level, you are never a performer. You are never an experiencer. Therefore, you don't have to undergo any kind of an outcome of an action or an activity done by you or by another. When this kind of a freedom from mind creations and intellect creations, mind creations, dharma and sukha dukha, and intellect creations, kartrutva, bhoktrutva, etc. When these are shed, mukta eva si sarvada, you already become free, you become liberated. So liberation is to be attained by the knowledge. There is no other process at all. You have to enter into the area and the process of knowledge, undertake a knowing process, pursue it until at last, whatever you have to know, the to be known becomes known and it becomes your knowledge. Swamiji, this kind of a knowledge, does it allow us to work and live in this world? Yes, you will work more. You will work greater. Our Shankaracharya lived only for 32 years. He must have gone and met Govindapada at a young age. What all work he did, where all he worked, how many debates he held. So was his life a life of immense activity? Though he was preaching, he was embodying and he was carrying the supreme wisdom of oneness, stillness and non-activity. So this is a mental intellectual embellishment, enrichment, enlightenment. It always comes to you in the form of a knowledge. That fear, Arjuna came to the battlefield. After 13 years of preparation, he saw Bhishma and Drona. His own kith and kin. He started shuddering. He kept his bow and arrow down and said, I will not fight. You tell me what has happened to Arjuna now? Has he lost any physical strength? Did he lose anything physically? His Gandiva was intact, Pashupadastra was there, everything was okay. So the trouble he encountered was intellectual trouble. He did not have the enlightenment, the illumination, the right knowledge. He did not have the right emotional stability. He could not understand anything deeper in him than the mind, intelligence and ego. That deeper level of his personality he was not exposed to. When Krishna exposed him to the deeper level of his identity, he stood firm, stable and fought. The same Bhishma he encountered. When Bhishma was lying on a bed of arrows, his head was drooping a little. So he said, raise my head. Some people ran to take pillows. Bhishma laughed at them. Calls Arjuna, he said. Arjuna came, looked at him, discharged 2 arrows to raise it. He was very happy, the grandfather. Do you mean to say you will do it for your grandfather? Arjuna was able to do it because he had a deeper level of personality than what he had when he saw Bhishma and Drona as commanders in chief. See the difference between the two. Na kartasi, na bhoktasi, mukta evasi sarvada. How do you become a mukta? You don't have to become a mukta. You are already a mukta. And you have to know that I am, I am, I am. It is not that mukti is delivered by Garuda or somebody else from the heavens. You have to realize that this free presence is in me. Eko drashtasi sarvasya mukta prayosi sarvada ayameva hite bandho drashtaram pashyasi idaram. One Lakshmi called me today from Bangalore. She said, Swamiji, your talk is very good, very effective. I understand that you are referring to the subject. Everything I know. But even then, when I live, what shall I do with my life? I started laughing. This is the difference. You only hear this subject. After listening to the subject, you must always feel. At any point of time, you are eating. Eat sumptuously, very well, very good food. Then also you should understand, I am a witness to my hunger, witness to my appeasement, witness to my eating. When the stomach is full, you say, I am appeased, I don't want anything else. Even when you say that, you should be a witness to your appeasement. When you have hunger, then also you should understand, I am a witness to my hunger. When you are going to die, you must then also feel, I am going to die, the body is going to die. I am going to be a witness to the process. When you carry the witness, how will you carry? By knowing it. How will you know? By reflecting upon it. Initially you hear, then you do Tattva Manana, again you do Nididhyasana. Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana are the 3 ways. It is not standing on the head or breathing through the nose. It is a question of discussing, debating, reflecting, ruminating, introspecting, ratiocinating, until at last, can you be a man and a woman alike? Can you be living and dead alike? No. Similarly, can you be the subject and the object alike? No. You decide and tell me whether you are an object or a subject. I wish you were all nearer. Tell me whether you are a subject or an object. The answer is, I am a subject. You are a subject to whatever you do, whatever you experience, whatever you see, whatever you think, whatever you understand. If you say, I have got redemption, then you are a witness to your getting redemption. You tell me, Eko Drashtasi. The question is, you take your position. Are you the Drashta, the seer, or are you the seen? This answer I want from you. Don't dilly-dally and don't delude yourselves. You have to clearly say, after listening to me, are you a Drashta, the seer, or are you the seen, the visible? You cannot be both. If you are a drashta, will you not be a drashta throughout? Do you have to make the drashta the same? Or it continues the same? Think about it. Think about it. As many hours as you want. As many days as you want. If you want to think about it by going to a teacher, go to the teacher. Live with him. Question him. Listen to him. Depend upon Him for illumining you. Whatever you do, the fact is, are you a drashta or are you the drishya? Boliye na. What answer do you have, my dear intelligent people? You cannot be both. You have to decide. Read the books if you want. Listen to the lectures if you like. Reflect upon it yourself if you so like. But I want you to say that I have understood there are only two factors in this world, the object and the objectude, then its witness, the subject, and subjectude. So far as I am concerned, I am the subject. Is it that you will be a subject when you know it, and when you don't know, you will become an object? Can it ever be? So it is a question of firmness in understanding, resoluteness of your intelligence. As Bhagavad Gita puts it, Vyavasayatmikya buddhihi ekeha gurunandana. My dear Arjuna, in the whole process of karma yoga, Vyavasayatmikya buddhihi, the intelligence will have to be resolute in its position, in its understanding, in its stand. You have to be rightly focused, fully focused. And never should you be non-focused. Is there not one person in my audience who will tell me, Swamiji, yes, I am the subject and I cannot be the object? Sometimes you may miss, sometimes you may fail. It doesn't matter to me. But the fact is, you have to come to the conclusion where you are the witnessing, whether you are the witnessing subject or the witnessed multitude. Hmm. 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 This is jnana, my dear souls. This is spirituality, my dear souls. Our country is great because the countrymen evolved this knowledge living on the banks of Ganges, the Gangetic plains. They evolved the Sanatana Dharma. They were farmers, agriculturists, they were traders, to some extent they were indigenous industrialists also. They had seen the very good times. You know, a few hundred years back, 100 or 200, 1700 or so, what was the share of GDP, world GDP, so far as India was concerned? 28% of the world's productivity was ours. GDP was ours. 28%. It was greater than China. You now find a poor India. But if you ask me, I refuse to call my country poor. We are the richest that you can think of. Is poverty a spiritual consideration? Certainly not. But if you give the spiritual man the power to rule and ask him to eliminate poverty, perhaps he will be able to do it in a much shorter length of time. Poverty is an economic creation. Who owns the land? Who owns the wealth? Who owns the power to make laws? The government. It is for the government to make sure that everyone has at least meals to eat. If you want people to produce, you should give them the opportunity to do so. Everybody should have work. If work is not available, how do you expect them to earn? So the people who own the land, who have the power to make laws, who govern the society, it is for them to ensure that everyone born in the land has food to eat, a place to dwell, and dress to wear. May not be very costly. If the government fails in it, why do you call spirituality for it? The government is not spiritual. The people are rulers are not spiritual. They refuse to speak a word of it. It is not the area of spirituality. Krishna tackled only the mind and intelligence of Arjuna. He did not give him a Pashupadastra or a Gandiva. He assisted in getting his sister married to him. That's a different matter. He was only dealing with the problem of the mind, problem of the intelligence. So, eko drashtasi sarvasya muktaprayosi sarvada. It is just like understanding infinity, that ananta matra. Like that, this has to be explained repeatedly, heard repeatedly, reflected upon repeatedly, so that the idea will become firm. You have the deluded notion that I am the object, 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 object. The whole delusion should go. And you must be enlightened to hold on to say, no, I was deluded, but not now. I am the witness. Let the body be cut into pieces. Even then, you will be groaning with pain, shouting with pain. Still, you will be able to say, I am the subject. I am the witness. I am the witness. How can you be the witness? The body is getting cut by another body, and the body and the nervous system, together with mouth, brain, etc., groans. Groan. That groaning will be there, a response to pain, a response to pleasure. All these are provided for by nature. What of it to me? My question is, what is my identity? My identity is the I. And that I is the drashta, the witness. And therefore, it has got no blemish, no coloration, no constriction, no affectation, no bondage, no blemish of any kind whatsoever. Egodrasi sarvasya muktaprayosi sarvada. Then what is your bondage? Ayameva hite bandho drashtaram pashyasi idaram. I wish my people listen to me very well. Ayameva hite bandhaha. I am individually telling every one of you, this indeed is your bondage. We use the word bondage, you put anything. This is your grief. This is your enigma. This is your delusion. This is your doubt. This is your suspicion. Any word you can put. Ayameva hite bandho. Anything produced uncomfortably by the mind and intelligence by virtue of their own positions and deliberations. Drashtaram pashyasidaram. Will the listeners be with me? Drashtaram pashyasidaram. You see the drashta, the seer, as someone different. You see the center of a circle as the circumference. The circumference is drawn from the center, but the center remains centrally in the circle. The circumference remains peripherally in the circle. You are not clear that there is a center, and from the center alone, a circle, the expanse of the center, the expanse of the point can be made. Even the objects have become from the subject, but the subject remains the subject. That drashta you don't see as another. So your trouble is that the witnessing eye, you mix up with the witnessed body, witnessed mind, witnessed grief, witnessed doubt, witnessed ignorance, witnessed delusion. This jamela, this confusion, will you be able to clear? This is a confusion. This is a stark inability on your part to think, reflect, and understand. Inability, unreadiness, idleness, lethargy, inattention, carelessness. You have no feeling for knowing what is the I present in your body. But we have all the feelings for knowing everything in this world. Bah. What all engineering, nuclear sciences are there? What all? I am interested in all that. But be equally interested in the subject, my dear souls. Drashtaram pashyasidaram. You are seeing the witness as something else, something else, something else. This mixing up in you should be cleared, and you should be able to understand. Ego vishuddha bodhoham iti nishchayavannhina. Ego vishuddha bodhoham. This is how you have to proceed. Aham, I. What am I? Who am I? Vishuddha Bodha. I am awareness, I am consciousness, I am sentience. That sentience is pure. It doesn't require anything else to be. All the others are dependent upon the consciousness. But consciousness itself is not depending upon any other. There is nothing to putrefy, nothing to cause blemish in. If a nuclear explosion is there, earth will be affected, water will be affected, air will be affected. Maybe fire also will not burn properly. But do you think space will be affected? As far as I am able to think, space will not be affected. In the same manner, something different from space. Space is inert, insentient. The inner one is called Chidakasha. It is sentient space. That sentient space, Chidakasha, is there. That Chidakasha will not be affected at all. So its purity is absolute and no contamination can ever be caused to it. So, Ego Vishuddha Bodhoham. I am the singular, pure, immaculate, unadulterated, unassociated, unmixed up consciousness. I am the Bodha. I am the Bodha. What is that Bodha? I am. That amness of your I. Amness. I am. To an extremely suffering man, you ask, are you there? Yes, I am suffering. To suffer, there is an amness and an I-ness. If the I and the am were not there, the suffering would not be reported, would not be felt. When I suffer something, I am not the suffering. I only suffer. Similarly, when I enjoy something, I am not the something that is enjoyed, but I am the enjoyer. When I experience something, I am not the experienced something, but I am the experiencer. My dear souls, this is ransacking inside your body. Ego Vishuddha Bodhoham iti Nishchayavanhina. This is a Nishchaya, a decision, a resolution, a finding, a discovery, a realization, an identity, an ascertainment. This is what you have to do. Ascertain it, my dear souls. You cannot take any instrument to do so. You can only use your mind and intelligence. And don't get anxious also. Don't get heated. Simply be devoted, silent, calmly and coolly you do it. I don't say you should complete it tomorrow or the day after. But you should. Ego Vishuddha Bodhoham iti Nishchayavanhina. This Nishchaya, this resolution, it has to be ablaze like a fire. And let the blazing Nishchaya, Prajwalya Ajnana Gahanam, it should completely burn off the delusion, the ignorance. Then Vitashokaha, Sukhi Bhava. Vitashokaha, Sukhi Bhava. Transcend the grief. I wish you are all near me. I am asking you. Listen to me. Every one of you must be able to say what I am going to say. What is that? You are suffering. I am suffering. In the whole process of I am suffering, are you the thing you suffer from, or are you the one that knows the suffering? Somebody scolds you. Oh, I am hearing the scolding. In hearing the scolding, are you the scolding that you hear, or are you the hearer of the scolding? What difficulty is there to answer this question? But you must have faith. You must have fondness. I think most of you are unfaithful. You are unfaithful to your own intelligence, to your own mind, to your own understanding. When I see something, am I the object I see, or am I the one who sees? Now, instead of seeing in the sensory level, I take you to an experience in the mind level. You are suffering from some unpleasantness. That unpleasantness you are suffering from. In that suffering, you tell me, are you the unpleasantness you feel? Are you the one, or are you the one who feels it? Why don't you go a step inward? This is called transcending the mind. A step inside. Prajwalya ajnanagahanam vitashokaha sukhi bhava. Vitashokaha. Transcend your grief. And transcending the grief, you remain comfortable, pleasant, exceedingly so. Muktabhimani mukto hi baddho baddhabhimanyabi. Muktabhimani mukto hi baddho baddhabhimanyabi. Kim vadanti ha satyeyam yamati sa gatir bhavet. Gatir bhavet. Muktabhimani mukto hi. Janaka, listen to what I am saying. There are so many laws in this world. Physical laws, chemical laws, biophysical, biochemical, biological laws. All these are operating in the object can. When you enter your inner personality, our body, that is governed by physics, chemistry, etc. But inside the body, associated with the body, we have what? Psycho-intellectual factors are there. In that area, you tell me, what are the laws which are operating? They are not physical, chemical, etc. They are, if at all, psychic laws. And those psychic laws are far greater, far more subtle, and far more effective. In the physical world, there can be many wrong interferences, but there nobody can interfere. So all the laws are faultlessly operative, and that one law is muktabhimani muktohi baddho baddhabhimanyapi kim vadanti ha satyeyam yamatihi sa gatir bhavet. Yamatihi sa gatir bhavet. Gadir bhaved. Whatever you think, that you become. Whatever you think, that you become. I have a disciple in Delhi. He was a customs official. He left the job. So one day he rang me up. He is a person who speaks extremely fast. So fast. One day he said, Swamiji, I want to develop some qualities in me. Qualities in me. What are the qualities? Commitment, dedication, commitment, dedication. So I know him very well. He is a disciple. He meditates also very faithfully. So I had to give him something. So I said, what is the quality that you want to cultivate? At least two of them. What are they? Attention and commitment. I said, you go on saying many times, commitment, 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 attention, 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 commitment, attention, commitment, attention, attention, commitment, commitment, attention. Thousands and 10,000s of times. And let me know after a week. He said he had become committed. And he was quite attentive. When I landed in Bombay last time, he came near me. He had arranged for our landing, etc. Swamiji, I told the customs officer what you told me. He is also doing it. with the result that every day he catches some case or another, others are not able to do. What do you understand by it? A quality grows in the mind by meditation. Mind is what does meditation? The meditational mind will have to be trained by a process of meditation. That is why manana becomes important. So what you have to do is ya matihi sa gadir bhaved. Whatever you assiduously think, mark my words, whatever you think assiduously, perseveringly, dedicatedly, consistently, unbrokenly, without any cessation, whatever you think, that you become, I am the witness, I am the witness, I am the witness, I am the witness. The world is the witnessed. Witness is different from witnessed. Witness can never become witnessed. I am the witness, so I can never become the witnessed. Let the witness do whatever it wants. At least in 21 days you must be able to say this. But you are not given to consistency. You don't know that. We always want variety to live. I had taken for many years a particular type of food. Some of my devotees, particularly Ponnu Papa, used to ask, Swamiji, for so many months you are taking this food. I said, yes. There are some people who suffer from migraine. So I have told one or two people how to tackle this migraine. I said, you take mono diet. Whatever diet you want to simply take, tell me what is the diet. And decide that from today onwards, I will take only mono diet. Whatever be the diet. Maybe if you are eating chapati, okay, say, I will take chapati and dal. Okay, chapati and dal, nothing else. Morning, evening, noon, every time. You know, when I went to America, I saw the girl and asked her, what about your migraine? आपने बताया ना मोनो डाइट सब खत्म हो गई ठीक है. It is not merely mono diet. It is also an austerity involved there. Muktabhimani muktohi baddho baddhabhimanyavi. Whoever thinks that I am a mukta becomes a mukta. At least become a pseudo mukta first. Real mukta later. Baddho baddhabhimanyavi. All of you are arguing for bondage. Swamiji, I am not all right. Swamiji, I am not all right. I cannot be all right. I cannot be all right. I am not all right. I am a sufferer. I am a sufferer. I am a sufferer. That is why you remain a sufferer. Who told you that you should be a sufferer? Kim vadantiha satyeyam yamati hissa gadir bhavet. There is a kim vadanti. There is a proverbial statement. Whatever the mind thinks, that becomes. So this is true in the sphere of a seeker seeking life and liberation. Mukta abhimani mukto hi baddho baddhabhimanyabi kim vadanti satyeyam yamadihi sa gadirbhavet. This is the 5th day. So 2 more days. Tomorrow I shall discuss Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana, that particular portion called Siddha Gita. As I told you, we will enter into the mind arena, and I will tell you how to lodge yourself in that subject dimension, that witness dimension, how to reach it. Yes, I will tell you. You can reach, whether you will, I don't know. You will have to tell me whether you will or not. Okay, I shall stop now.
Pranam Swamiji. Thank you for mentioning that, because 2 of the questioners will get their answer tomorrow, so we don't have to take up those questions today. Swamiji, this is from Shri Ram Sen Guttuvan of Chennai again. Dear humble pranams Swamiji, yesterday you mentioned about transcendental level of consciousness. May I humbly request you to explain this again if you could?
I think tomorrow's discussion will be on this transcendentalness. So let the answer be tomorrow.
Swamiji, this is from Bani Singh of Bangalore. Pujya Swamiji, what can we do to manifest the indweller in our personality so that our understanding and actions become those of the indwellers? How to make the indweller become the karta in my life? How do we make our ego get out of its way? With loving pranams.
So the last line is meaningful, all the rest is meaningless. Witness can never become the witness, I said. So, how can the indweller be the karta in you? We are always saying that we are an akarta. The indweller remains as an akarta. You cannot trap him to become the karta. So, your question is not well worded, you have not understood. What you want is knowing the witness, that knowledge, that magnificence about the indweller. How to manifest it in your life? Yes, you remember him, you identify with him. I would like to put it the other way. How to get connected to God? Every time I will tell you the way. I don't know whether you will hear it properly, follow it. I say every one of you is connected to God every time. Say you are in the world. The world is a manifestation of God, a creation of God. In that Panchabhautik world, your body is a part of it. So, bodily, are you not part of God? Is there anybody who can answer me? The whole world, Panchabhautik world is there. My body is a part of it. So, bodily, I am always part of God, God's creation. So, am I not connected to Him? Then, within the body, I have a mind, I have an intelligence, I have an ego. And beyond that, I have the self. This mind, intelligence, and ego are also creations. The Panchabhautik world is a matter energy creation. This is another creation, psycho-intellectual creation. This creation is also done by God. So I am living with a God-made body and I am functioning with a God-made mind, intelligence and ego. So is not my life God-made? Am I not connected to Him? If I am not connected to God, then let God come and tell me to whom I am connected. You know what is my position? Seldom I speak about it. Today I shall. My dear God, I cannot think of you always, nor do I propose to. I cannot think of remembering you also. If I want to remember you, it is clearly because I forget you. But I find that you are unforgettable. Therefore, memory or remembrance is redundant. I don't find anything other than God. God alone is. The world is God. I am God. My body is God. Mind is God. Intelligence is God. Ego is God. The self is God. Everything is God. When I remember you, it becomes a mockery. It becomes very cheap. Many people are praying, at least at the time of death, I must remember you. I say, I will never say this. Why should you wait for death to remember God? You should remember God to only understand Him. Understand Him in His fullness so that you never have the problem of forgetfulness and therefore the need for remembrance. My dear God, you have put me into this world. and you want me to live. So I have to think about the world and also my life and interactions in it. Either I will think of you and be connected directly, or I will be interacting and connected to you indirectly. In both cases, my connection with you is absolute, unbreakable. If you have any other feeling, that is your problem, not my problem. This is my talk to God. My dear God, I like you. I don't say I love you, I like you. Whether you like me or not, it is your concern. I like you and I am happy in liking. Quite happy. My liking and the resulting joy, I don't think anybody can take it. You also cannot, you try. I like you. What further? I like you, whether you do properly or improperly, whether I have difficulties or no difficulties. In both cases, I like you. I consider everything to be instrumented by you. Something may be good and palatable, something may not be. All these differences do not affect me because you are the whole, you are the full, and in that fullness, I am also included. So I don't have a further entry into God necessary, nor do you have to enter me. We are both quite all right and quite safe, hand in gloves with one another. So I'm quite happy. My dear souls, can you have this kind of a thought? Connected to God. Who is disconnected from God? So I generally give two statements to God. But my dear God, you banish me from your territory or kingdom if you can. Take me away from here and put me where you are not. Can you banish me from your kingdom or territory? Then again I ask him, can you exit from my heart? If you can, please do so. I made these statements long ago. Up to now, God has never answered me. Never. I am quite sweet, quite harmonious. I am free enough to talk anything about my God. I will talk anything I like. Because except my like, I know nothing. If I have realized God, I have realized Him as myself, as I. Instead of locating Him elsewhere and calling Him you and He, I realized Him as myself. So what I like, I will talk. And my liking cannot be contradicted by God. So I am giving you one thought process or another thought process from which you should at least take the inspiration and guidance and develop your own ideology or methodology, as a result of which you will be connected to God. Connected to God. My dear souls, the world is connected to God. Whatever is inside the world is equally connected. You are part of the world, you are connected to God. Which air are you breathing? Which water are you drinking? On whose earth are you living? So the earth where you live, the air that you breathe, the water that you drink, the vegetables you eat, all these are God apostrophe S. So where is the time that you are ungodly? Ungodly. Where? When? How? Be simple. Be straightforward. You know what is the sadhana required? Panditya balya maunakhyani sadhanani sadhaitavyani. Panditya, knowledge of all these things. Balya, childlike innocence. Mauna, nirvikalpa samadhi. Panditya balya maunakhyani sadhanani sadhaitavyani. Spend some time, read good shastras, and have a prayer. Have a prayerful attitude. What is that? I must understand and I must become. I must become. Stop thinking in terms of devotion. Instead, become a devotee. Devotee. Tell me, are you becoming a devotee right now? If you say, I am a devotee, from that moment onwards, whatever you do will become devotion. So I say, don't practice devotion, but become a devotee. There is a beautiful verse. Nijopi papa validopi vinindidopi bruyatavahamidi yastu kilai gavaram tam yachasisha nijalokamidi vratam te tasmat tvameva sharanam mama shankhapane. I am not able to recite it in the way I want. Nichopi papa validopi vinindidopi Nijobi Pavavalidobi Vinindidobi Bruyatavahamidhiyastu gilaikavaram Tam yachasisha nijalogamidhi vratam te Tasmat tvameva sharanam mama shankhapane. He may be a Nija, rejected by anybody, ridiculed. He is encircled by sin. Therefore what? Even if such a man, bruyad, he will say, Tavahamidhi yastu kilaigavaram. One day at least he will look at God and then say, I don't belong to all these people who blame me and ridicule me, treat me indifferently. I belong to you, my Creator. Once if you can say, Tam yachasi shani jalogamidhi vratam de. Instantly God is so happy seeing his wholeheartedness that he gives his own kingdom. Atma Samrajya he gives him. Therefore you are my refuge. My dear souls, all of you should have balya. Whenever you grow, you start developing one pride or one infatuation or the other. Shed all that. Goodness is good indeed. Badness is bad indeed. What we want is to be good, to be innocent. A man is not judged by what he has, but by what he is. Understand that the worth of your mind, the worth of your heart, the character that you have, so that balya is what you want. The childlike innocence, childlike. I have said it. Can you become innocent to accept what I say and act upon it? Oh, Swamiji has said. He doesn't want to remember God, because to remember God is to forget Him. Only when you forget, you remember. So every time you chant the name of God, you have forgotten Him before that. Matta smritihi jnanamapohanam ja. Both forgetfulness and memory are born of me, says Krishna in Gita. So my dear Bani, what I want you to understand is, be a devotee, and thereby convert the whole of your life as a devotional life. Whatever you do, it is Bani doing. You are a daughter. Whatever you do, you remain a daughter. Similarly, you become a devotee, so that everything you do will become devotional. Don't choose. Don't select. Everything you do is devotional. Devotional. There is no special puja. There is no special invocation. If you want to do it as a habit, you do. But you should become a devotee. During sleep, in wakefulness, in dream, in the morning, in the evening, midday, every hour, every 5 minutes, every minute, every second, and still in its fractions. Such a beautiful path I am telling you. And if you cannot grasp, what shall I say? We have only been told this piecemeal, piecemeal, piecemeal process. Whatever I say is Purna, Purnavada. God alone is nothing else. God alone is nothing else. So where is the question of not seeing Him, remembering Him, forgetting Him, distancing from Him, getting unconnected from Him? Everyone will agree that God is omnipresent. So can you be disconnected from omnipresence? So correct your understanding of God. He is all pervading, surrounding you, penetrating you, surrounding you, encircling you, penetrating you, permeating you, interpenetrating your cells. And such a God you seek in an idol. What a travesty is this! We have children and growing people, let them have idols. We must have temples. You know, we are managing 7 temples. All of them were given to us for management because the owners were not able to manage. We had to spend money also for renovation, etc., quite a lot. Even now, money is being spent for those temples. All are necessary. But you have to outlive. The idol God will have to be replaced by an omnipresent God. Omnipresent God. A God who encircles you, embraces you, penetrates you, permeates you. And the earlier you do, the better. So my answer to you will be, you are never disconnected from God. Realize this solid position.
Swamiji, there's a question from Deepta Rag. Pujya Swamiji, while giving your discourse, you had stated that consciousness has a power or property called Maya, which creates, sustains, and brings about change in this universe. Previously also, you had said that when a human body starts developing inside a mother's womb, it is the consciousness that is automatically developing itself into a physical body with head, arms, etc., without any intervention from the outside world. So, can we deduce from this that the consciousness or Maya has a decision making power or an intelligence by which it sees, analyzes, and then chooses to create and sustain this entire material universe? Can we say that the consciousness chooses to take forms of living as well as inanimate objects and then maintains the balance between all the objects it has created?
Yes, you can put it in any manner you like. Any manner you like. It is exactly like your own dream. You get disconnected from your body, mind, intelligence, ego, and the world. Then you go to sleep. That sleeping person suddenly slips into dream. When you are dreaming, it is not a dream. It is exactly a wakeful state. And in the dream, the whole dream world and dream activities are created by whom, you tell me? By the sleeping person alone. In the sleeping person, what was there? Body is not functional, mind is not functional, intelligence and ego are not, outside world certainly not. So some kind of a presence that was inside the body, that has itself manifested the dream. Means what? It manifested space, it manifested earth, water, air, and fire, and all the objects. How did it bring about this? All from itself. Exactly in the same manner, the consciousness has made this wonderful systematic world. Maya is not the way people understand. Maya has got 2 meanings. One is illusory. Otherwise, it is the inscrutable power which consciousness or Brahman has. Inscrutable power. Why we call it inscrutable? because it is not an objective phenomenon. Therefore, we cannot put it into any kind of experimentation. We can only conjecture or infer about it. We have to infer on the basis of known data available for the purpose. So it is inscrutable because that kind of a power is inconceivable for us. In the visible world, such a power is not there. Now, this is a power by virtue of which it can make anything, unmake anything, and breathe changes into whatever is. This inscrutable power. And everything is like that. The birth of the growth of a fetus, fertilization, etc., are processes it has itself instituted. And so far as whether it is intelligent or not, my answer to you is intelligence alone it is. It is through the intelligence that concepts are born, and the concepts further become material manifestations. Everything comes from the consciousness. See, matter and energy cannot be born of another matter and energy. So, if matter and energy were born, were produced, the source must be something different from matter and energy. What is that supra-material and supra-energial factor within our knowledge? It is something like the mind and intelligence and ego. It is consciousness. So consciousness alone is the source of matter, energy, and further items. Very simple. All of you are born of your parents. Your parents were born of their parents. And finally we go to the first parents. Now you tell me, can the first parents be born of another set of parents? They are the first parents. So as parents, they were the first. So before them, who was there? No parents, but something different from them. That is that consciousness from which the whole material world has sprung. For me, it is a fact more readily known than a sensory phenomenon. It is a truth I perceive. It is a truth I perceive. That perception is inner. Just like I see colors and shapes, of my intelligence, we are able to see this is it, this is it. Okay, we shall stop now. We shall conclude the session now. संवेद्यवर्जितमनुत्तममेकमाद्यं संवित्पदं विकलनं कलयन्महात्मन् हृद्येव तिष्ठ कलनारहितक्रियां तु कुर्वन् अकर्तृपदमेत्य शमोदितश्री कुर्वन् अकर्तृपदमेत्य शमोदितश्री. Hari, Hari, Hari Om. We shall have the conclusional recitation. Take your pose for it. Om.